Imagine for a moment you are traveling through the medieval town square. You're surrounded by medieval architecture and cobblestone streets. As you walk around, you notice people dressed up in medieval garb and fur hats, and they look at you strangely because you're obviously not from around here. But suddenly a figure steps out from the crowd. It is tall with pale skin and long flowing black hair. His eyes seem to bore into your soul, and then he smiles, revealing long pointed teeth. Is this man a vampire? Well, it could be because you're in Romania, the country that inspired Bram Stoker to create Dracula. So join us today as we look at the real-life story of Dracula. We can never talk about vampires without mentioning Transylvania, especially since it's widely believed to be the inspiration behind Bram Stoker's famous novel Dracula. But did you know that it was actually the Romanian prince who inspired Stoker to write about the infamous blood-drinking nobleman? See, back in the Middle Ages, stories of vampires were all across Europe, but the name Dracula didn't appear anywhere except for in a small church record from 1462. This document recorded the baptism of a baby boy named Dracula, but other than that, there wasn't a single mention of him anywhere else. Historians believe this was until Stoker published his novel Dracula in 1897. However, one historian believes that the documents describing Vlad the Impaler may have been destroyed when the Ottomans invaded Wallachia in 1462. If true, then it would explain why there is so little information on Vlad. Sadly though, no one knows what happened to these documents, if they even existed in the first place. Speaking of Vlad the Impaler, let's take a closer look at him, because he might have actually been Romania's first vampire. So Vlad Impaler was born sometime in 1431. His father, Vlad II, was the Prince of Wallachia and had received the title Vlad the Impaler after he dipped his bread in blood during a feast. But how did this happen? Well, according to some historians, Vlad II dipped his bread in the blood of Christian captives that he held in his dungeon. Others say that the captives were tortured and forced to drink their own blood. Either way, it seems like this would have been enough to earn Vlad the nickname the Imp. And unfortunately, it looks like this dark behavior skipped a generation because Vlad Impaler did something similar only years later. But before we get into that, let's talk about the nickname Dracula. Throughout history, it has been said that Vlad III was called Dracula, or son of the dragon. However, there is absolutely nothing to support this claim. The fact is, there isn't a single document from Vlad's lifetime that refers to him as Dracula. Instead, his record shows that his name was Vlad Imp. This is where things start to get confusing though, because his surname appears to have been erased from history. Today, people believe that he was part of the Draculefti family. However, this is just a theory. There is no proof that he was related to them. In fact, the only document that mentions his family tree claims that Vlad's father was a member of the Basarab family. Now, researchers believe that someone may have altered this document to hide any connection Vlad had to the Basarab, but it makes you wonder why. What we do know is that Vlad's father died in 1446 and left Vlad to rule over Wallachia alongside his older brother. But shortly after Vlad took power, he and his brother began fighting each other over land. Eventually, Vlad killed his brother and became the sole ruler of Wallachia. This is around the time that Vlad Impaler gained his infamous nickname, which was given to him by his enemies. But why did they call him? Well, according to Janos Hunyadi, who fought against Vlad, he got his nickname because he dipped his bread in blood. As we mentioned earlier, this may have been blood from Christian captives, but we don't really know. What we do know is that Vlad did unrule over Wallachia for very long, because he was soon pressured to give up the throne in favor of his son. At least that's what many historians believe. After all, there is no official record showing that Vlad stepped down from power. Instead, it seems that he simply disappeared from history. Sometime later, however, he reappeared in Transylvania, which was ruled over by King Matthias Corvinus, and this is where things get strange. You see, Vlad was now working with Matthias to conquer Wallachia. But while Matthias was away fighting, Vlad went against his orders and returned to power in Wallachia. Then when Matthias heard about this, he became furious. He immediately ordered Vlad to come to Transylvania and brought charges against him. So what did Vlad do? He fled to Moldavia and asked for asylum. Unfortunately, his request was denied, and Moldavian forces joined Matthias's army as they marched on Vlad. It seemed as if everything was going badly for Vlad, but then the Ottomans attacked Matthias's army, forcing them to retreat. Once Matthias was gone, Vlad reclaimed his throne. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. A few months later, Vlad Impaler was invited to a feast held by Polish King Casimir IV. However, while attending the feast, Vlad allegedly dipped his bread in blood, which enraged Casimir. Casimir immediately arrested Vlad and threw him in jail. Then a few months after that, Casimir died under mysterious circumstances, leading many to believe that Vlad Impaler poisoned him. We don't know for sure though, because there is no evidence to support this theory. After Casimir died, Vlad was released from prison and returned to Romania, but soon after, he was forced to flee again because the Ottoman Empire was advancing through the region. Eventually, Vlad found his way to Bohemia, where he spent the remainder of his life. In reality, there is very little known about Vlad Impaler, except that he was a ruthless leader who dipped his bread in blood. But is this enough to turn him into a vampire? Well, it depends on your definition of vampire. Some believe that vampires were evil spirits that used a corpse as a vessel. Others believe that vampires were humans who drank the blood of others. Either way, Vlad Impaler fits the description perfectly. So what do you think? Was Vlad Impaler the real Dracula? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're there, remember to hit that like button. Thanks for watching.